And we are live. Welcome everyone to once again a fun hour or two filled with nonsense by me and my good co-host, because I'm going to call him co-host by now, John.
Again, a fun
And I
hour
once again
Stooge.
forgot to turn off the sound, so that's
I'm your stooge, mate.
fair use. Fair news, fair news. And Dick Cheese has joined us today. There is still room to join. If not, then yeah, you know what? That's okay. We're going to ramble on a little bit, but in a few minutes we will start to talk about the state of speech in the European Union, particularly in the United Kingdom. It's a so much fun topic. Actually, I think it's a great topic, but yeah.
Yeah, but okay, free speech in the UK, right? Well, I have. We've been talking before the show, and John still can speak his mind. So, what's really wrong with free speech in the UK then?
But can he?
Yes.
Are there indeed no repercussions to speaking your mind in the UK?
Well, you can tweet and end up being arrested.
Yeah.
That's not free speech.
And you can make jokes and get arrested.
Yeah, you can make jokes and get arrested. And not just that, you can then have the judiciary tell you, despite your clear explanation that you are joking, that you weren't really joking, and you were really planning to raise a new army of fascists.
Of pugs.
No, because the pug was the medium for raising the
paw. Oh, sorry. Well, he raised his paw, didn't he?
Yeah. But the whole point is the judge said, just because Dankula said it was a joke for his then 6 subscribers, i.e. friends, doesn't mean that it wasn't really a plot to radicalize right-wing.
Yeah. No. At that time, he was still a communist.
He wasn't. No.
Haida Crusader, yeah, he is.
He used to be, but he wasn't at that time. He had long since stopped being a communist.
Well, fair enough then.
Just to be.
And another example, Tommy Robinson. Whatever you find of the guy, he publishes his documentary with the BBC, working together with Hope, Not Hate, far left activist group, to sabotage Tommy Robinson. And within a week or 10 days, his Facebook got shut off.
Yeah.
And Instagram. Oh. And they want to arrest him again. And it all comes after he did this thing with the BBC. Is that a coincidence?
Yeah. No. I mean,
of course.
It's classic. It's a classic state. Yeah, I mean, it's state persecution.
Because there was a Muslim fellow working at the BBC. I don't know, a journalist or whatever it is, and he had some personal talks with Facebook and with Google to get.
He was actually proud that he was the instigator of the latest attack on Tommy Robinson. I forgot his name now.
So journalists. It's even national, how do you call it, paid with public money. The BBC working together with activist groups and with tech companies to ban certain people off the internet. All these factions are working together.
Well, who was it who said about,
I'm sorry. I'm not quite sure who was it who said about what.
I was inarticulate.
Yes, quite so.
I was inarticulate. And I allowed myself to get distracted, so I lost my train of thought, which doesn't help.
The activists, the journalists, and the tech companies working together.
Yeah, I mean, thing is with Tommy Robinson, it has been so blatant. A year ago, he got arrested at Leeds. And it's so blatant that it is you know, and the way the police behave to him and the way they, you know, and the police forces generally, because it's not just him. There's the guy who the Humberside police contacted to tell him to change his thinking.
Yeah, to check out his thinking, his thoughts.
It's all out of control. I mean, and what's worse is we know about it, but the mainstream media doesn't cover it, so most people don't know about it.
Well, and the worst part is, because we're all talking about Tommy Robinson, and don't get me wrong, we should, but he has it bad. But there are people in jail in the UK at this point in time because they did something that the elites don't want them. And if they would have been actual crimes, I wouldn't have complained about it. But there are people in jail at this point in time because they said something that was politically incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, you know the old saw in America, driving while black. Well, in Britain, it's doing anything while working class.
Yeah, which is a far bigger group, to be honest.
Yeah, but one of my points I made in those videos I made was, in America, it's called racism because
well, you have to blame.
If I made a video claiming that John told me he loves Hitler. I don't think hearsay works, Nick.
Yeah, depends. Well, not from Nick, obviously. But if BuzzFeed does it, well...
But, yeah, I mean, basically, my point is that if you look at the history of class relations in the UK compared to America, there is precious little difference between how the working class in Britain have been treated and how black people in America have been treated. Very little difference. And so, you know, in America, it gets called racism because that's a very easy signifier. But it's not racism, it's classism.
There's a very big difference because skin color. Yeah, sounds all.
Yeah, but how they were treated, mate.
Oh, yeah, no. No, yeah, no. But skin color, therefore...
Yeah, well, or in England, bad diction.
That too.
But yes, no. As I say, you know, I mean, the problem with, you know, and it's easy to see in America that it isn't racism because the same problems are experienced by poor white people or poor Hispanic people, or, you know, I mean, it's not the skin color which causes the treatment, it's their socioeconomic status. It's just that in Britain, because we didn't have any non-white people until after the World War II, it was obvious that wasn't, you know, it wasn't race that was the problem because we didn't have races to have a problem about.
I'm going to interrupt a little bit, and I'm going to address the chat. Just make a fake screenshot of him linking a 1488 post. Anir Tak, I have a Cocoscope account, and on my Cocoscope I have a video, which is that song I did about free speech. And I know my singing is dreadful, but if you want to watch it, you go to www.cocoscope.com, watch $V, and then the is sign, and then 1488. So I actually have a link with 1488, it seems. Purely coincidental, mind you. I'm sorry, I had to put that out there.
Well, that's
kind of funny, actually. Where are you? It's kind of funny because
I'm getting warm.
I was talking with
stripping now.
Oh no!
Get excited, people.
Oh, it's gotten so hot in here.
Well, all this talk about Nazis getting me hot and bothered.
Getting me hot and bothered indeed. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to link it in the chat. It's kind of funny because someone pointed it out to me. And I had, at first, I didn't even know what he meant.
No, I've got to respond to an attack. There's no way they're responding to a stabbing. There must be a hate crime somewhere of a woman being looked at in the wrong tone of look. That's way more important than actually anything like a stabbing.
Oi, don't. I'm sorry. I'm responding to the chat again. Crusader Soul, don't be such a sexist. I have great boobies too. Or big boobies, one of the two, anyway.
Hang on. Oh, there's a lag. I've got to wait for it.
And then there is that. Hi there, Ludicrous. Don't look at me in that tone of voice. Oh, I have to admit, guys, it always cracks me up when I'm with you guys. It's always good fun. Anyway, so...
That's what we want. We want a bit of piss-taking because the subject is so miserable and depressing.
That's true. That's true. Half of it. It's kind of funny because we all know about... Well, we all know. Most people here know about Tommy Robinson. But I forgot the names. I had a list and I forgot it. I dropped it somewhere and I forgot it. But there's a girl who's been put on probation because she linked the lyrics to a rap song.
Oh, she was no. She was prosecuted and then they had to rescind it, overturn it on appeal.
Did they? I didn't.
Yeah, they overturned it on appeal because she was actually found guilty. Yeah. And all she did was publish some rap lyrics to her boyfriend as a nice gesture. You know, here's my boyfriend. I want to do this for him, and so she put the lyrics on, and it's like that's now hate speech.
No, that's a different one. There was an English girl who linked the lyrics of a rap song in a way to say goodbye to a mate of theirs that died. And she got convicted as well because there was, well, nigger obviously came through it a few times, and there was certain things that are considered hate speech. I didn't hear that one got overturned though.
Well, maybe it's a different one. I only know that the one
this got overturned is from an American rapper who actually performed in the UK.
Oh, of course.
When the rapper performs, it's not a problem, but when she then. I think she shared it on Instagram or something like that. And then suddenly it's a hate crime.
Well, I know. And she's not alone. It's happened to students all over the UK.
Yeah, it's happened a lot.
It's because people are morons and the authorities are insane. Because instead of telling them to go and stick it where the sun don't shine when you complain about something like that, they take it seriously.
And that is a problem.
Quite agree, Nick. Absolutely.
It's kind of funny because I actually have a Beatles song which could be classified as rap. Actually,
well, when rap started, it became a thing. I'm going, what's all the fuss about? People have been talking over records for the longest time. For instance,
yeah, go
on. What's his name? Lee Marvin. I was born under a wandering star became a hit, and he didn't sing a note.
Yeah. There's scatting. And no, I don't mean eating other people's poo.
No, I know what you mean. Scatting.
A music style called that.
Yes, that was from the jazz era. That was back in the 50s.
And I think it's Sgt. Pepper's Reprise from Lonely Hearts Club Band, which is also basically a rap. They're not singing in the reprise, not at all. And one could argue anything that Ringo started, but that's me being nasty, perhaps. You can't call what Ringo did singing, let's be honest.
No, but the other three managed a note or two.
Yeah.
And no one will ever be as bad as William Shatner.
Indeed. Why did he climb the mountain?
No, there was a British show, Shooting Stars, and they used to play his bits. He used to play clips of him. I won't say singing, but of his songs that he released.
Yeah.
It's truly. And I love William Shatner. I thought he was brilliant. Did you ever see Third Rock from the Sun?
Yes.
When he was Big Giant Head.
Oh.
That was his character. His character was Big Giant Head.
One second, guy, because something is going on here. 1 second, because I have no idea what my wife tries to tell me, but she tries to tell me something.
Oh, how's Brexit going?
I'm back. Yeah, that was
yeah, probably not. Is a short answer. But then, is anyone surprised about that?
You won't riot?
Oh, the British government are either deluded or just priming a new riot suppression force.
Well, in all fairness, and I said this earlier in the pre-chat, I mean, if we look at the Western world, when we're talking about riots, either we count France as being the first country that's rioting, or we don't count this as rioting yet for whatever reason, and then it's just a question for the first one to fall.
Well, the French have protesting as an art form.
It's not so much art form. National hobby, yes, but
it's an art form. I mean, it's like, it's almost like one of those demonstrations. The art installation things. We will stop the roads.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they do it a lot. That's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. It's a social norm. I mean, it's like I watched the Tour de France, right? And they got really pissed off last year because they're cycling along. Oh, the farmers just block the road with hay bales and tractors.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Crusader says France is in a full-blown revolution. I wouldn't call it a full-blown revolution yet. I mean, it's still people speaking out in the public, repressing that with as much force as they can. As soon as I start hearing about violence from the people towards government, then maybe we can start talking about a revolution. But till that time, we're not talking about a revolution.
And the problem is the modern state isn't really government. Government is just, it's like, it's so fractured. I mean, the modern state is so big, right? So many people work for the state. And so government is like this little bit over here. And then you've got so much else.
Yeah.
And this is one of the problems, because if you just had a government and everything was clearly just the government, then people could oppose just the government. But
True.
Now everything's diffused because everyone's going, oh, it's not my fault. Wasn't me. No, it's them over there. Like they all do, Plausible deniability.
Yeah. Which is a huge issue, let's be honest.
And it's one of the reasons it's getting so bad before anything happens, because who do you protest? What do you protest over? There's a lot of like medium level things that make people fed up, but is there one issue to ignite people? That's why the Yellow Vests got going, because they suddenly found a common complaint that they could unite around.
Yeah. Well, it's double. It's double, and I'm not in favor of any form of political oppression, to be honest. And it's amazing to me how much we see of it in Europe now. I mean, I know people started jokingly use monikers like the EUSSR, but we're well past the joke.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, authoritarianism, it's a single direction, right? And anti-authoritarianism, or liberty and freedom or whatever, takes an enormous effort. And then as soon as it relaxes, the authoritarianism just pushes back at it again. And this isn't a new idea, because there was that person who said, and it was a long time ago, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Yeah.
And the problem is most people now are way too busy, way too insecure, way too distracted to be vigilant.
Yeah. And I think that's an issue. I really think that's an issue. And I mean, I'm not going to say that the American politicians back in the day of the starting of America were so brilliant, but in all fairness, there was one thing they said that is unfortunately very true. Freedom does require the regular feeding of the roots, and it feeds on the blood of those defending freedom. And it seems that in the West we've forgotten that. I mean, we went from freedom to
it's because society takes its norms for granted very, very quickly, especially if they're good. Like if they're bad, people, it's in the mind, but people adjust to improvements really, really fast. And so the problem is if you're my age, you remember that the Second World War wasn't that long ago before I was born. And when I grew up, it was everywhere. All the films and stories were about that, because it was the major event of a generation.
Yeah.
And then we had industrial unrest throughout the 70s and much of the 80s. Okay. And that, again, kept everybody focused. But once that ended, then everyone forgets, and people grow up, and kids have so much, and their parents now have so much. Because my parents started a house with practically nothing in it, because that's what happened when they got married.
Yeah.
And now you get married, you have a full-blown what's the word? Centrally heated house with all the mod cons and everything. Huge amount of debt, but that's all part of keeping the masses subdued. Because if everyone's got all this debt, how much trouble are they going to cause?
Yeah, and that is. But in all fairness, it is something for me to be careful about as well, because I don't want to lose my job. Hence, I hide my face, because I know the dangers of being. The thing is, it's not even that we're subversive. It's just that we don't agree with the popular narrative.
I mean, who was I listening to today? And they were saying about academia and how, you have this problem. Oh, that was it. It was Bettina Arndt talking to Helen Plutrose.
Yeah.
And she was saying, the problem with academia is, and this is how they control the debate. What they do is they make everybody think they're alone. if people were able to speak freely, the majority opinion wouldn't be the dominant one now. That would barely be noise.
But that's the whole thing, and this is the tactics of the Bolsheviks from the very get-go. From the very beginning on, they've always claimed to be the majority. And people believe that because what they hear is the media telling them that they are the majority. And all media says it, therefore it must be true.
And not just that, the only time they present the alternative viewpoints, it's with the poisoning of, oh, and here's an alt-righter, here's a terrible person, here's a, you know, this, that, or the other. And they'll say that before telling you what they say, so as to throw shade on what that person says.
Yeah. It's worrying because once again we find ourselves in a societal crossroad. And once again it's because of the push of socialism and because of the push of the welfare state above and beyond everything else. And throughout the history of men, this isn't the first time. What is completely acceptable if we look at our history is that it will always fail. And it does so usually in the most bloody of ways.
Yeah.
By that, I'm really scared, though, because, no, scared is the wrong word. I'm really worried because America, for the longest time in the Western world, was the last bastion of freedom. And they are as, if not more so, subverted than Europe is.
Yeah, but see, the thing is everywhere is like a compromise. And the problem with America is they have this strong independent spirit. They have their belief in the First Amendment, the belief in the Second Amendment, okay?
Yeah.
And yet, for the longest time, they've had the most corrupt politics.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
And so it's like you get one side that's really strong, and yet you also get the other side that's really strong. And so, you know, this thing about America being so good in some ways and it's equally bad in others. You know, and so, you know, it's easy to look at, oh, and they've got this. Or same with Britain. You can look at Britain and look at all the ways it's going bad. But we also have our traditions, and our traditions are standing up to attempts to bully us.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not ironic. We stood alone against Napoleon. We stood alone against the Germans. It's what we do.
I'm not really sure if you stood alone, but
when Napoleon had got as far as Russia, so he conquered all of Europe, we were alone. And against the Nazis, yes, there was a time when we were alone. Europe was conquered.
yeah.
Before Hitler started the second front, if he hadn't started the second front, we were basically just there, dangling.
Yeah,
the Americans had not joined the war. There was Britain.
Yeah. Hitler. Oh, sorry. Hitler was an idiot anyway. I mean.
Yeah, I know he was an idiot, but the point is we were prepared to stand alone.
Yeah, and that is positive. But if we look at Europe now, there are a few countries in Europe that are still recognizable as themselves. Most European countries are no longer recognizable as themselves. And there is some serious problem with that. Because, for example, if we're going to say, let's assume England will totally recognize that they need to go, or the UK, totally recognize that they need to go back to being the UK. Okay, but you've got a lot of people living in your country that might not agree with you. some of these people are British subjects because of birth. Some of them are British subject because of integration and immigration.
Funnily, I think you're conflating two issues.
Maybe.
Because the anti-Brexit isn't significantly affected by immigration. As far as I know, there's no that's not about immigration. However, whether Britain, the UK, goes independent, leaves the EU or not, there is an immigration-fueled identity problem, and that is to do with the religion of pieces.
Yeah.
Because we successfully integrated people from all around the world, and then we invited in.
No, not only that, because we were talking about the restriction of peace, but I've read that your British supermarket, Asda,
yeah,
how do you call it? Took all knives out of the stores because of the knife crime and stuff like that. And these are this is not really addressing the problem.
Well, of course not, because the British attitude is, and I don't know if it's better anywhere else, but the British attitude is you always tackle the secondary problem. It's what happened with the terrorist attacks. Do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. One person does a counterattack. All of a sudden, they're up in arms.
Yeah. And the counterattack was rubbish as well. He drove a rented vehicle from.
Yeah, I mean, the point was is you had organised spate of primary attacks. Oh no, we can't blame the community. Oh no, there's nothing behind them. As soon as you get a lone individual and driven.
He was an individual. I mean, he didn't have ties to anyone.
Yeah, and he drove from the furthest end of South Wales, so that's 250 miles to London, to commit a half-assed attack. And they're all, oh, we must stop right-wing extremists. We don't have a history of right-wing extremists. The National Front were around in the 70s, got nowhere because everyone hated them. The British National Party got nowhere because everyone hated them. You know, they're a phantom who the left so desperately need, but don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, they call Tommy Robinson far right. Oh, he's such a racist, which is why all his best mates are black.
Yep.
And he has Muslim friends even.
Yep.
It's like, for goodness sake, you know, they're just
they're
tilting at windmills for an opponent.
Yeah,
an opponent that doesn't exist.
With the Jussie Smollett case, there were people still hoping it was true he was attacked.
Yeah, they're saying, "Oh, we need it to be true. We need it to be true."
It's even worse. I mean, I've actually saw someone say, "Okay, well, it isn't true, but it happens so often anyway." How do you know it happens often? Because every single time people say something like this, it's proven to be a fake crime. Yeah. It's not even that some of these cases were proven to be fake. I can't find one that hasn't been proven to be fake.
Yeah, I know. You know, and because they're deluded, they start off with a view of the world, and literally everything has to fit into that view of the world, irrespective of what evidence really arises.
Yeah, it's. And if we then look at what happens in Europe or in the UK or in America, it's Bolshevism all over again. And it is. It's not even because I could say, yeah, but Islam this, or yeah, but the lefties that. But
no, PayPal or MasterCard can block you and stuff like that.
Yeah, but here's the problem. You say it's Bolshevism.
Yeah.
And here's why I say it's not. Because it's first, the tactics might be identical because the people cooking up the tactics have history books. So they know what works. They study these things. But secondly, who exactly is driving and leading what's happening now? It's not the working class. It's not the anti-elite. It is the elite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are not. That's the preferred thing about it. They are not voting against the system. They are demonstrating for the system.
Yeah, yeah. You know, as soon as you get supposed socialists cheering on the most powerful corporations in the world with their multi-billionaire owners, I'm sorry, the game's up. You can't call that socialism if socialism were supposed to mean anything to do with ordinary people.
But there is a difference between a socialist and a Bolshevik.
Yeah, whatever label, honestly, mate, whatever label.
Because the Bolsheviks, yeah, there are two different kinds of Bolsheviks as well, because you had the national ones and you had the international ones. And the ones that were active in Italy and Germany were the international Bolsheviks. They got expelled from Russia because Russian Bolsheviks were national Bolsheviks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, the USSR was an empire. They overtook.
As I said, Hitler was a national socialist and Stalin was a socialist in one country. Same bloody thing.
Yeah, they were both national socialists, but they were named differently because.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But they were the same thing. It's a difference between coloured people and people of colour. Just word order.
True that. No, 100 agree. But I totally agree with you on that. But the Bolsheviks, not all Bolsheviks were national socialists, because a lot of Bolsheviks were against Stalin as well. Hell,
yeah.
A lot of Bolsheviks that were against Lenin. That's why so many of them fled to other countries.
But then they weren't Bolsheviks.
But they were still Bolsheviks, because for 99% they agreed with what the other ones agreed with. It's the same as the Red Guard in Mao, China. Uh-huh. They completely agreed with what Mao said until Mao got into power, and then Mao recognized, yeah, I got to get rid of these guys.
Well, that's the trouble with ideological purists.
Yes. Yes. No, that is the problem. And if we look at the European Union now with Juncker, nobody voted for Juncker. With Jean-Marie, what's his face? No one voted for those
Juncker.
Oh yeah, Juncker is the German one,
and then he's the Luxembourger.
That's the Koskov patients that kisses all the leaders and licks them.
Is he from Luxembourg? I thought he was German.
No, Luxembourg. Luxembourg.
But the other one, the one with the crooked teeth.
Guy Verhofstadt.
Guy Verhofstadt, the Belgian guy, who even in Belgium didn't get a majority vote. I mean, he barely made it in the European Parliament.
Yeah, well, democracy's a sham.
Yeah, we're not in a democracy at all. It's indeed a sham.
I told you that. Democracy's a sham.
It's worrying, though, painful. And
it always was a sham.
Well, not as bad as this, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you see, the history of the British electoral system is simple. Prior to 1832 and the first of the Reform Acts, there were less than 2% of the population could vote. They had what they called rotten boroughs, which were literally like 2 or 3 voters. You could take them down the pub and say, vote for me, and they would vote for you. And it was an insanely elitist situation. And you had the swelling of the working class with industrialization. So industrialization gathered pace during the first part of the 19th century, and people set up organizations like the Chartists agitating for the popular vote. And by popular vote, men and women, okay? And basically the ruling people, the people who had the vote, were scared. It's on the record. Well, if these people get to vote, they'll get to vote and take away all our money and probably kill us. After all, you've got to remember, this followed the French Revolution. So they weren't entirely unfounded in having concerns. And what happened is as the vote increased and more people could vote, they realized that in fact nothing changed.
Yeah.
That because the system basically was, you can choose between this person we give you or that person we give you. That is, if you control the choice, it doesn't matter who can vote.
Oh, indeed.
And so as the franchise extended, the worries relaxed. But even until 1918, when they finally made universal male suffrage a thing, they were concerned that the working class would turn on their rulers, their abusers, the people who had exploited them. And that's with their own opinion of themselves, not what, you know what I mean? It's like, it wasn't, oh, we've got nothing to fear because we did nothing wrong.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why we keep falling for it, though. So many people in the, even
public
in the
schools, public education.
Well, yeah, public indoctrination.
Because they went hand in hand. The extension of the franchise went in hand with the expansion of public education.
Look what happened in the Netherlands with the climate Jugend. If you know what I mean, the child sold the child sold
because of climate change.
Yeah, I call them the child soldiers of virtue.
Yeah.
Well, but all these schools giving them an assignment to go to these climate change march, and those children are made afraid, and they keep pressing them. But it's I mean, if there would be a protest against migration, would have done the schools the same thing?
No, obviously not.
So it's very clear where the school's at with the children.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder why. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no problem with migration. The double thing is, I actually do not have a problem with migration. I have a problem with unfettered migration, with people coming here illegally and burning down their refugee centers because they don't like the way they're being treated. I mean,
rejecting the food because it's not good enough, or throwing away the clothing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't have to be here. You can piss right back off where you came from. It's not me being nasty. It's me being tired of it. In the Netherlands, they're actually starting, well, they have started. There are 2 or 3 specialized refugee centers for people who are extremely misbehaving. Why the hell do we even have a refugee center for these people? I'm sorry, you come here as a refugee? Fair enough. We're going to look at it. We're going to see if you can stay here, yes or no. If I need to make a special place for you to wait to see if you can stay here because you're already misbehaving towards the people around you in the refugee camps, why the hell would I want you in my country? But saying that is racist. It's stuff like this really pisses me off. And the worst part is, I don't mind people from other countries living in the Netherlands. I'm not an ethnostatist or something like that.
No, but that was also another point. It was just an example for how the youth is used.
Yeah, but
it goes even further. Look at how the mainstream is writing about all these jihad warriors crying, "Oh, I've made a mistake. I made a mistake. You have to get me out." And these are just violent animals. But the papers are writing, these are lost sons we have to retrieve. They're pushing for this.
Yeah, and I don't understand. How are they lost sons? I mean, I made a video about this Riots guy who is married to that English girl called Bacon, Begum, something
She's
like
not
that.
English anymore. We've rejected her.
Which is kind of funny because now people are complaining, yeah, but you can't make them stateless. Yeah, well,
Bloody well can.
well, it's even funnier than that because that English girl is also Bangladeshi, so she's not stateless. End of problem.
Yeah. Although I'd had
Back in
somebody
Bangladesh.
said she was only English, but I don't care. If you leave your country, and they took serious steps to get to Iraq, right? If you leave your country, you do so by your own volition.
Yeah,
And that country has no obligation to accept you. But the country you've rejected, why should they not have the right to say, fine, you don't want us? Bye.
Bye-bye. You left. Fair enough. I'll close the door behind you.
People need to understand there are consequences to their actions.
Yeah.
They've seen the images and videos, so they knew where they were going to. So.
Well, in case of this Ridai guy, he went in 2014. I mean, by then we already knew what a heinous crime affiliation this ISIS thing was. So to say, yeah, but no, that's just the media, I didn't know, well, bullshit.
No, but also these ISIS women, and they're crying, and the media is making a case. Look how sad these people are. We need to take them in. But these women were key in the brainwashing and arranging the sex slaves, and they were a key part in the genocide. They did everything the same as the men did. They are not pathetic.
Yeah, no, I don't care. Anyway, I don't care.
Mate.
No pussy pass. I'm sick of the pussy pass.
Yeah, well, that too. Well, but she has a child. Well, okay, the child died already, and I'm really sorry for the child. I really am sorry for the child. But for fuck's sake.
No, again, I'm sick of that because the frigging feminists, they do that over here. Oh, it's a mother. Although she committed murder, we can't send her to a prison because she's a mother. No.
Yeah, she's a murderer as well.
You're a murderer. You get punished for being a murderer. You should have thought of that if you've got a child. Well, you should have thought of that, period. But you know what I mean? It's like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but stuff like that, it really, it's upsetting because in the end, we're basically throwing away our own civilization. We're throwing away our own rights. And the worst part is, I mean, I as I said, I made a video about that Ridai guy, both on my Dutch channel and on my English channel. I mean, it's the last one before this, so it's easy to check. The thing is, we have Muslims in this country. We have Muslims in England. We have Muslims in the whole of Europe that are very much against these people.
Mm-hmm.
But because the left is constantly pushing that, yeah, but oh no, but it's not Islam, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Okay, let's say it's not Islam. Let's 100% agree with one another. They're not doing this because of Islam. The fact is not why they did it. The fact is that they did it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem. But no, we're obfuscating. We're making it vague. And now we have people like Tommy Robinson going to jail because he pointed out that girls were being raped in England, in the UK. Yeah, wait a second. Is he wrong? Did he lie? Well, no, he didn't lie.
No, he was wrong because he told the truth, not because he lied.
So, what
the establishment were embarrassed. The establishment does not like to be embarrassed.
It's the same thing with the European Union. I mean, well, yeah, no, we have to let in the refugees. Poland is a bad country because it doesn't let in refugees. Poland let in 2 million refugees. But these were refugees from the Ukraine. Yeah, but they don't count. Well, why the fuck don't they count? Because Germany, the Ukrainians must be refugees. But there's a civil war going on right there, right now.
They don't count because they have the wrong color.
Yeah, that's basically it.
It's the same as they won't accept the white farmers from South Africa.
I was going to say the same thing. They're also very doesn't matter. They're also very apathic to the South African situation. So,
and because those people are racist.
Yeah. It's white people can't be the victim of racism and murder. something like this. I don't know.
Well, they don't have standards. This is the problem. They don't have standards.
They have double standards.
No,
Yeah.
well, principles. Sorry, they don't have principles. They're
principles. But it's kind of funny because indeed it's well, these are the rules for you. So this is what you need to live by. But yeah, obviously that doesn't apply to us.
They want diversity. White people don't help for more diversity.
Oh,
we need less white people for more diversity.
Did you see Sargon's chat with that? I think it's called Destiny.
Yeah, I've seen it, but the Destiny fellow is really putting me off.
Yeah, okay. So what did Destiny say? What did Destiny say? He said, "Oh, you've got to use pronouns and things because of the happiness of the transsexual people, because otherwise they'll be unhappy." I mean, for fuck's sake, right? But in his next breath, which is why it's okay to punch Richard Spencer, because he is stirring up people to go out and commit these terrible crimes. I'm sorry, have you any evidence for that? Any? And so he will simultaneously attack people for words because it hurts feelings, while justifying violence because he doesn't like the person he wants to attack. And there is literally no self-awareness about how awfully upside down that is.
It's the harassing, the intimidating, getting you fired. But now in the United States, there's also cases of bank accounts getting closed because of wrong political views. So what's next? Your electricity will be taken off.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
and then what? What can you do without a bank account in this society? Nothing.
Yeah.
They could. Well, the only thing you can do is start to radicalize.
Because they want to kill you by other means. That is, they impersonate you.
That's pretty cold.
Yeah, they are. They are. You know, they're the self-righteous, and the self-righteous are the most frightening people of all, because they will do awful things to you with a clear conscience.
Yeah, it's the robber baron versus. I really need to have that quote ready when we start streaming, because it nearly always comes up.
Well, we know the quote, so don't worry. Because it comes up every week.
Because it nearly comes up always. But yeah, no, I mean, the oppression done by people doing it for the good of you will go on and on and on and on. And you will always be oppressed by them because they do it for your best intentions. Never mind whether it's actually good for you. But
no, they're moral Puritans.
Yeah.
They're the self-righteous, and they are scary.
They're dangerous.
Yeah, they're scary. They're just,
And it's beyond me, because if we look at the whole thing with Tommy Robinson in the UK, or Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, or Marine Le Pen in France, it's basically the same thing. What's the problem with these people? They bring a different noise, and they are getting popular.
Well, because they, they're saying something a lot of people know is true, and against the absolute silence from all the supposed official channels, people will go to them.
Yeah, and it's worrying. It's not so much worrying that people go to them. It's worrying that the mainstream politicians and the mainstream news do everything they can to prevent it.
Yeah, look at all the fake news insanity. Now they started some commercials You have to look at the normal at the normal legacy media for checking facts. They're pushing you to the MSM from the government, and it's really insidious how they formulate their message.
And it's amazing because it's constantly proven how the mainstream media is telling us lies, whether it's on television, on the radio, or in the newspapers. It's constantly being proven, and it's not that hard. I mean, on any given, well, maybe not any given day, but at least once a week, I will find an article in a newspaper, not only that I disagree with, but that gets debunked in the very same newspaper.
Yeah.
And not only that, this whole Captain Marvel deal, it was also even on the mainstream channels. It pushed that hard. A freaking stupid movie with feminist crap in it. So it's like I think it's like these young people coming from higher education and universities coming into these newsrooms and into the political parties. If you look at at the young group of the political parties, even of the liberals, they seem all have to say they all have the same progressive talks. It doesn't really matter what party. They all have these progressive things in their language. It has to be diverse and all that kind of nonsense. And they're in the TV stations, at the newspapers. All these young people come from the universities and work at these places. I think that's the thing you're seeing here. And that's why a news center like the NOS, our public news station, have these feminist agenda type of written articles on their website. And I don't know why, because it's absolutely no news. But it's everywhere. They are everywhere. It's just like parasites. It's just like parasites. And you can't get rid of them because they're stuck in every corner. And this is madness.
And I simply don't understand. I mean, we're small. We're YouTubers. We're small. We have a few. I mean, there are some YouTubers who are bigger, but even they don't really do that much. I have to admit, I'm impressed by Sargon. I mean, to our standards, obviously, he's a huge YouTuber, but he's not. He's big, but he's not huge. But he's at least trying to do something. So he's politically engaged. But you already see in the British press that they are attacking him, attacking Count Dankula. Not because of what he has to say, but because of him.
No, because he's a hate figure now. That's how it works, you see. You set someone up with a persona, good, bad, whatever, and that drives the narrative. So he's a bad person. It's been proven he's a convicted hate speaker. And that now gets used as a talking point in literally everything they say about him. And it's certainly why BBC Scotland must not be allowed to feature him on a programme. Because the public must not be allowed, at all costs, it must not be allowed to hear what he's actually like.
But it's perfectly all right to listen to Malema. It's perfectly all right to listen to God knows how many terroristic and dictators.
Oh, of course. I mean, Farrakhan or,
Benjamin Owen.
Owen Benjamin. No, Owen Jones.
Oh my God, that guy. I'm sorry, that guy.
But no, and I mean, how many hateful articles from the left do you get in the mainstream media? Why isn't it okay to hate all men? Thank you, Washington Post.
Yeah.
It's like, the hypocrisy is so outstanding. You cannot believe it. That, not a fraction of what they would go mental about were it the other way around. And they think, oh, that's just fine. Yeah, that's just fine.
Yeah, and this is something we see in the social media platforms, the media in itself, the politicians, and it all goes down one way. It's amazing that, for example, in the UK, what's his name, Rees Mogg. Yeah. I mean, the dude is old money. Let's face it.
Yeah, he's the least suitable political leader in the country.
But he seems to be closer towards the working class people than some of the people of Labour. Well, some of the people in Labour.
Again, you have to understand our historical tradition. The Tory tradition was what they call paternalistic, which was you have the upper echelons who deserve to run society and have all the good stuff, but they will look after the little people. They will make sure they're okay and make sure everyone's looked after. They have to stay in their place, and and that is the Tory tradition. And so he is in that, okay? And those people do care about the other people, just in a particularly condescending kind of way. Whereas, as George Orwell said 100 years ago, the socialist elite hate the working class.
They still do.
That's what I said. Nothing's changed. And again, who were the people who were the least far from that? Tony Benn, who had to renounce being a Viscount so he could become an MP. So he was another tough.
Yeah. It's yeah.
It's them pesky bourgeoisie, the pesky twats in the middle who are the problem. Says somebody who's a pesky twat in the middle.
I mean, more and more people, even the working class, more and more people are recognizing, like, hey, wait a second, this isn't right. So makes you wonder how long it'll last.
Well, Sargon's just put up a video, Brexit has been betrayed. Yeah, tell us something we don't know.
Yeah, because I think Parliament voted today on whether the no Brexit should be off the table.
Yeah, of course, because they're all Remainers.
And I don't understand, because I think it was Corbyn who actually said, well, the European Union fears the cold Brexit. So
I think the term is quisling. We have a parliament of quislings. Don't you know what quisling is?
No.
He was a Norwegian politician, and it was the term for somebody working for the enemy.
Oh, okay.
For the Nazis. So when the Nazis invaded Norway, he basically.
But Tony Blair is advising Macron about the Brexit.
Yeah, well, Tony Blair's a prime see you next Tuesday, isn't he?
That mass murdering lunatic.
Yeah, one of the people who is behind the whole Brexit thing.
And who's responsible for the mass immigration?
Yep. But yeah, no, in Parliament, I think it's today that they voted 312 in favor of blocking a no-deal Brexit, and only 308 were against. So it's a close call. Well, it's only a 4-point difference. But still,
I believe
the one thing that the English had in their favor, the UK had in its favor, was saying, listen, if you don't want a deal, we go out with a no deal. That's the one thing the European Union hates and fears. And now the English Parliament said, yeah, no, let's not do that.
Yeah, because they're quislings and spineless.
There goes your marketing tool. I still think that Brexit is the best way, not just for, I mean, if the Brexit happens, I don't even think it will be that long before the rest of the European Union will implode, because no one else will start paying extremely much more just to keep this EU-SSR going.
Yeah.
The Italians are not in favor. The Polish are not in favor. And what you will see happen is that people, I'm saying it live here, you can tape it. But what I think will happen is that European countries will start re-establishing personal bonds with different countries the way that the European Union once was founded. And they will turn away what the European Union is and maybe start anew with making agreements and, how do you call this, treaties with one another.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a good thing because the European Union, it's.
Well, I was talking to Alicia, and I was saying what you have is, if you look at the end of the Roman Empire, they were so unstable because you would have 2 emperors, East and West, 4 emperors, 1 emperor, 2. It was always shifting because it was such a large body and nothing worked. It became too big.
Like the Tower of Babel.
And Europe and even the United States is a bit the same way. We have these huge states. We had all this growth towards countries. And they don't work at this level because the people in power are so removed from the people they get to decide for that, of course, it goes to shit. Yeah. You know, you can't have one size fits all education. You can't have one size fits all this, that, or the other. And so the inevitable contradictions in the system break it apart. In the meantime, the same forces which will always lead to, oh, we want more at the top, are pushing the European Union, which is only hastening its own collapse. And I think what will happen is it'll fracture because, you know, Spain, you've got the regions. Britain, you've got the countries. And, you know, and just as we had a nationalism under one set of forces in the 19th century, you've also got the reaction to it, which is regionalism, operating now.
Yeah.
And the pressure's building. You know, so they're keeping a lid on it, and the pressure's building. And the more they keep it, pressure builds, the more they try and hold the lid down. And when it blows, it's not going to be pretty.
No, and yeah, and I think we're getting to it faster and faster and faster. It actually is 2 minutes to midnight, which is
21. But sorry.
Fuck's sake, John.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, it is. I mean, this is a problem, and I mean, they do everything they can to prevent us from talking about. Well, not us, obviously, we're not big enough, but they do everything they can to get the bigger people to not talk about it, because by talking about it, you make it real. Yeah, but it's not a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And it's that is a lie. It's a fallacy that talking about things makes things real. Things are real whether you talk about them or not.
Or not, indeed.
In Parliament, they were already talking here in the Netherlands about maybe there should become laws for foreign mingling on the internet with the political elections. So.
It doesn't sound at all authoritarian.
And you know, but they do it with a smile, like it's nothing. So
when they do it, it's not a problem.
But Martin Bosma was really on fire, and he destroyed it. So, but they are really stupid, or they're really steering to this. I don't know what it really is.
They're deluded, is what they are. They are deluded because if you look at anything in a limited enough way, you can make an argument. It's only when, as soon as you bring in the rest of reality, that you can show it's nonsense. And so the way they justify things is narrowing the discussion until it makes sense.
And it makes sense. It never makes sense.
No. I'm sorry. When I say make sense, until they can do an argument that sounds sensible, even though, as I say, as soon as you open it up into a wider context, you see it as nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about this whole Green Deal contract here in the Netherlands. How they're pushing for that with the heat pumps and getting off the gas and 1,000 billion for CO2 reduction. That
you know what we need?
Absolutely nothing.
Actually, you know what we need in the West?
Nuclear power.
No. We need a mass movement of civil disobedience.
Oh yeah.
Just people just refusing to comply with all the petty rules and the stupidity.
Yeah, but we're this much divided. It's so divided that there is no, and they stripped off parts of the identity. So there is no unity left. That's the problem.
Yeah, but as we've talked about before, a lot of people think they're alone. So you just need to get a group going to show the other people who are.
Yes, but there's also a lot of people active going against it and using very fascist tactics. So,
yeah, and that's fine. You have to accept that and you factor that in.
Yeah, but you risk your job, your friends, your this and that, and you need it all. So this is the problem. It's really weird. It's like a spider web. Cornered from every.
They rule by fear. The only way to defeat them is to eliminate the fear, and that's sad but true.
Yeah, that is true. But in all fairness, that same fear is the reason why I don't show my face. Let's be honest.
But what I'm saying is therefore the key is to be smart and find a way to defy them that doesn't need you to show your face.
Well, we're doing that now.
No, we're talking. I'm talking about doing.
Yeah, well, I do kind of try to explain stuff to the people around me as well.
No. I'm talking about actions, civil disobedience.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's difficult though, and that's the problem.
Of course, it's difficult. It's not a coincidence that it's difficult. But at the end of the day, who's going to stand up? We can't. We can't wait forever for other people to stand up. At some point,
if you want to have some masses, more people need to get hurt, get affected. It has to go worse. It needs to get worse before.
You need martyrs, and it's sad but true.
And then we come back to another thing that
Steve. Can I add one thing? That Steve Bannon said you actually need murderers. Well, that's a really scary thought if it comes to that.
But that's what it comes to. In all fairness, and then I'm going to bring back another thing that often comes around. It's the awakened Saxon thing. Doesn't happen fast. We don't know when it starts, but once it starts, the floodgates are open.
Awakened Saxon.
Haven't you?
Well, introduce me, please.
I will. Let me see. I have this one actually. I have somewhere because it's a poem from Kipling. There is he, the Wrath of the Awakened Saxon. Doom, 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 doom. I'm going to share the screen so that most people here have seen it at least once, right, John?
Did you show it last week?
Yeah, I did. It's.
I remembered.
I'm going to share it. The Wrath of the Awakened Saxon by Rudyard Kipling, which is quite old. Well, oldish.
Well, he wrote in the 19th century.
Yeah. It was not part of their blood. It came to them very late, with long arrears to make good when the Saxon began to hate. They were not easily moved. They were icy, willing to wait till every count should be proved ere the Saxon began to hate. Their voices were even and low. Their eyes were level and straight. There was neither a sign nor show when the Saxon began to hate. It was not preached to the crowd. It was not taught by the state. No man spoke it out loud when the Saxon began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, it will not swiftly abate, through the chilled years ahead, when time shall count from the date, that the Saxon began to hate. This poem always gives me a chill, it really does, and the thing is, the main reason why it gives me a chill is because it's so fucking relatable. Because let's be honest, if we look at the First World War was bad. It really was. The Second World War was partly a result of the First World War. At the end of the First World War, people already exclaimed that the Second World War was already being made. And then when it finally happened, some people pretended to be surprised.
Well, hindsight's not the best way of viewing things sometimes.
Well, wait, read out literal hate speech. How is no? This is a
no, because it kept saying hate.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, but I mean, it's just this is how do you call it? This is heritage. Yes, English heritage for that. Kipling is an Englishman, wasn't he?
Kipling was English, yeah.
Yeah. So English heritage. And is recognized as one of the better writers and poems from the English history. Obviously not as good as Shakespeare, but then again, no one is apparently.
Well, of course not. Silly. But the funny thing is, in the UK, the highest proportion of Saxon genes is in the region I come from, and that's still only 40-odd%. So even the English today are less than half Saxon.
But yeah, it's still part of us, whether we like it or not. I'm not Saxon.
I'm not either.
But ironically, Saxony, Saxony where the Saxons came from to Britain, is a different area to current German Saxony.
True that. But no, it's the Franks. Franks were the primary Germanic tribe in the Netherlands. Were the Franks before they went to France.
Boo.
Except for the ones on top, because there were Frisians on top.
Yes.
Oh, Frisians were Franks, were they?
No, Frisians. Franks, they were Frisians.
It's probably one of the more older populations. How do you call it? Prehistoric.
No, it's not prehistoric. I think Frisians are connected to the Germanics as well, aren't they?
We have a lot of similarities with the English language, I believe.
Yeah, well, that too.
Well, did you know that the dominant English, and it's not British, but English group is reckoned to be the Belgae or Belgae.
Okay, I did not know that.
So yeah, because basically there was a land bridge after the end of the Ice Age, so people migrated all over, and the Celtic peoples of Britain came up mostly from Iberia. Yeah, but the English settled from people who came across Northern Europe.
North Sea.
No. So it has been wondered whether, because no one knows what the language in England was before the Romans, because they didn't write it down. There's no records of it, and it was wondered if it wasn't similar to, like you say, the Frisians and so forth already, and that the Saxons didn't bring the language; they already found it.
Yeah. Anyway, oh, by the way, guys, yes, it is true. I linked a 1488 thingy to Anirtak, who nastily pointed that out. It's because my video on Cocoscope has gotten the moniker 1488 because they number it up. So the first one obviously being 01 and etc. 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 Mine was the 1488 uploaded video on that website.
You know, a joke isn't funny if you have to explain it.
Yeah, but this is 1488. People will start calling me a Nazi because of that.
No, they won't.
Well, not the ones that know me, obviously. But you know YouTube. They will use it.
Well, I mean, admittedly, they don't and I do. But if anyone knew what you actually looked like, they would know you were an anti-Nazi.
Nazi. Right.
Well, you know, you are the opposite of the, the clean-shaven.
I've got blue
hair. No. I'm talking about voluntary appearance. I mean, yes, Goering perhaps a bit of similarity there in certain ways in his later life, but other than that, you're not a war ace, are you?
I don't think so.
You haven't shot down lots of foreign pilots.
Pilots, no. But I am a Viking.
No, I know, but Goering was a fighter pilot, so.
Yeah, I know. And hi there, Patrick from the USA. Welcome to this little get-together. And yes, Modwain is not a Nazi. Come on, people. I have to say this because bloody YouTube.
Says a leprechaun. I mean, what does a leprechaun know?
Hey, listen. He is a minority. Therefore, he's going to claim that he's being oppressed.
Oh,
I'm a minority too. Doesn't count. So yeah, there you have it. What is this Sunday St. Patrick's Day?
I thought that was. Oh no, I'm thinking of Burns Night.
I thought that was later in the year. I thought that was at the end of the year.
You will remember Patrick was Welsh.
True, and he got killed in Ireland.
Yes, and bloody snakes.
Well, there aren't any snakes in Ireland anymore. Well,
what do we have to celebrate? March the 17th.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day, isn't it?
No, but he said, what do we have to celebrate? He's gone March the 17th. Well, today's March the 13th.
14th over here.
Yeah, well, in 6 minutes, it'll be the 14th.
Oh, we're rambling on again. We haven't really talked about the subject. We've been rambling. It's a good.
We have in a more fun kind of way.
Real Raven basically said, when I said there aren't any snakes in Ireland, Real Raven says, you're wrong, mate. They're in the government and in the press. And I was, yep. Okay, I stand corrected, Real Raven. You are 100% correct. So, but, I mean, in all fairness, why would anyone not in Ireland celebrate St. Patrick's Day? I never understood that celebration.
Because they're Muslims? They must have Muslims over there.
I mean, what's the good thing about St. Patrick's Day? Ludicrous, explain to us, what is the good thing
Getting pissed out of your skull, of course.
It's the alcohol, of course it is.
Well, yeah, well, you don't need an excuse for that now, do you?
No. But
To do it.
apparently, in America, everyone becomes an honorary Irishman on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
for the drink.
I can't blame them.
Well, I mean that those were good at making the odd drink or two, Benedictine, and
Oh, this is. I think it's a sentence from one of the. I think it's from the Pogues. It's the same. Yeah, oh, no, it's the same shit thing as yesterday. Something like that.
What?
I can't remember. Never mind. I'm rambling.
I'm sorry. I'm lost.
Yeah, me too. Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I thought Chicago was quite big, ludicrous.
Well, maybe we should do a stream on Chicago, by the way, one day.
Why?
I mean, one of the cities in America with the longest running democratic government in America, with one of the strictest gun laws in America, one of the highest homicide numbers in America, one of the highest gun crimes in America, and gun crime, of course, can only be countered by strict gun legislation. And then you get this self-fulfilling prophecy that goes bad, but then because the rules aren't bad enough, so we make the rules worse.
I've understood that San Francisco is now an open toilet.
Oh yeah. It's worse than a lot of countries that Trump mentioned when he was talking about shitholes. Countries.
Well, that's why they objected.
Sorry?
That's why all the SJWs objected. They said, but they're no worse than here.
Well, it's kind of funny because I think there were politicians. I think there was a politician from, what was it? I think it was Uganda or something, who basically said, yeah, well, no, I understand why Trump said this. I won't call my country a shithole, but at the same time, yeah, people do shit in the streets. And India, same thing.
I don't think he was being that literal. I think he was more, there's lots that isn't very to be proud about.
That.
But yeah, no, I mean,
every country has its pro and its cons. And
that's what I was trying to say to you earlier about America, pros and cons. All that wealth, lots of homeless people.
Yeah.
Well, but it has the biggest possibilities. If you want to, let's say something simple, put a product into the market, you immediately have a very huge market.
Yeah, but the problem is that it's a very unequitable system. The American dream is anyone can succeed, but the fact is people only succeed because the majority don't.
Yeah.
And that's the ugly side of it that no one actually wants to admit to. Everyone wants to win the lottery. But to win the lottery, everyone else has to not win the lottery.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with winning and losing. I mean, I don't mind someone beating me at a game. I mind it when he starts flaunting it. Be a gracious winner, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is so my argument, which never seems to go down well, is that what we call socialism isn't socialism, but is in fact a byproduct of the industrial system that emerged in the 19th century, because it creates problems, and no one is accusing the people doing their best, looking after themselves and being bad people. And so they attempt to mitigate those problems with things like welfare. All from a good place, a good intention, but therefore welfare becomes an inherent part of the same system.
Yeah.
And it's not a socialist solution from the anti-capitalist. It's a capitalist solution to their own shortcomings, and people don't want to recognize this. They want to pretend that, oh, our economies would just be fine if you could get rid of that pesky welfare. You need to look back at how that pesky welfare arose, who instantiated it, why they instantiated it, why they still support it, to understand that it is as much as part of our system as all the other shit.
Yeah. The worst part of it is because I find myself being negative towards feminists and social justice idiots. But the worst part of it, it's not so much that they hold these ideas. The worst part is that they silence all other ideas.
Yes, because they're authoritarians. It's not because of their idea.
No.
No idea is inherently bad, because if it is a bad idea, it'll get drowned out by the sensible majority. So say what you like. The solution to bad speech is more speech. Yeah. However, it's not their idea that's a problem, it's their behavior.
And that's that, I think, and this is also what we're seeing in the UK now, and indeed in Europe. It's not so much that those ideologies are bad, it's that they don't allow anyone to disagree with them.
Beaten pensioners breaks your heart, you might be a bigot.
I don't understand what you mean with that one, Aritak. And considering the look on John's face, he doesn't understand it either.
No. Well, it sounds as though it's directed at somebody. Your heart, you might, but who's the you? Or is it one? Breaks one's heart, and one might be a bigot.
See, there's something happening in my house today, and this is relatively new. One of my rabbits actually came sitting next to me so I could pet her whilst in a stream. This is the first time. So, woohoo.
Yes, wands. It's okay. I was feeling paranoid, and it's like I thought I might have said something wrong there.
If the rabbit starts talking to you, then you have to give me a call. We have to do a matinee.
Listen, there's an old saying. I work in psychiatry for the longest time. There's an old saying. It's no problem that you speak to your pets, or that you speak to your computer, or that you speak to your television. That's no problem at all. But as soon as they start answering, yes, then you need to worry.
Yes, it's the conversation, not the...
You need to backtrack all the conversations. Oh my God, what did they say to the rabbit?
No. It's when you start insisting you only did this crazy thing because your rabbit told you to.
Yeah. Yeah, but the man on the moon said this. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe not.
Llanthig John, I mean Prost. I understand Llanthig. Bloody Gaelics.
Alexa, delete that.
The only Prost I know was Alan.
That's kind of funny though. On my phone today, my latest update suddenly installed that you can talk to Google. It's kind of like Siri and all that. And I've never installed it on my telephone. And all of a sudden, it was installed on my telephone, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
I had to take down a few updates. It's kind of funny.
These we've really let something very pernicious in with these operating systems and the way they update themselves. Because it used to be you bought a device and you control what went on it, and now you have no control whatsoever. And they can start deleting stuff off your device if they don't like it.
Yeah.
They would never do it.
They will and do.
Yeah, they do.
It's all about data, feeding the author.
No, it's about control.
Yes, sure, but there's more to it. It's also about feeding the AI. That's why data is such a big business.
Yeah, it is. I thank you, Real Raven. I just removed it altogether. For the time being, it's all right.
In Amsterdam, they built this new metro system, the north-south line.
North-south line, which had taken way longer than was supposed and was way more expensive than was
always.
But it was 4 or 5 times as expensive, and they destroyed monumental housing and stuff like that. So that's pretty bad. Yeah. But now it is. But if you come to these stations, it's full of little eyes. It's everything is on camera, and probably also with the face recognition stuff like that in billboards. It's completely filled with high tech. How do you say it? CCTV.
Yeah, well, I mean, we will see more CCTV in the Western world anyway. I'm not really against that, funny enough. But they don't use it for what it's intended. As soon as something happens, everything is gone. Oh, no, we don't have that one.
No, they do. No, that's not entirely fair. That is not entirely fair. I think you're being a little hyperbolic.
No, there is more, because now the banks have permission to sell your data, what you've bought, where did you use your card, and what did you buy, so they can advertise to you better with your bank details. You have to, they are for sale now.
Yeah, you are the product. Who said that? Somebody said that. You are the product.
No, but with all these digital innovations, advancements, that they can make a complete profile of you when you go to the toilet. What's your daily routine?
Yeah. I mean, I noticed, for instance, I use these. I do these puzzles, real noddies puzzles, on my iPad. And I started to notice that I was getting adverts in this app. One of these what they call them, in-app purchases or whatever. And I was getting adverts for things I had searched for on Amazon.
Yeah, all these cookies are connected.
Yeah. So I'd search for something on Amazon, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these adverts for the same product, and it's like, that's not suspicious at all. And they're all supposedly different companies.
Yeah, but the thing is that when it comes to internet, banking, and tech industries, they are all in bed with each other, whether we like it or not. And it's not a bad thing per se.
Wait, can I give another example? With the electricity and the gas coming into your house with the meters. Now you have smart meters. So the electrical company can exactly see what kind of appliance you're using and what moment, because they all have their own fingerprint. if you start them up or whatever. So with that, they can exactly see what you are doing in your house with this electric profile, and all these small parts with the CCTV and your bank accounts, all this data of yours. They know exactly completely who you are from A to C.
Yeah. But funnily enough, though, what was I was using something, and they were like, "We would like to tailor your adverts so that they are more interesting." And I always say, "No, generic, please."
But the whole thing about being more interesting is that they want to create echo chambers. The whole thing about it. They want to create echo chambers because they're better. People are better to control if you know where they are.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, here's the thing, right? Okay, and again, this is what people don't really grasp. The amount of data is immense. They don't monitor you. What they can do is mine the data if they're interested in you.
Yeah.
So it's a difference. It's like they don't care where everybody is all the time. But if there's an individual, they have the data. They can say, where was this individual at this time? So it's more a retrospective resource rather than real-time monitoring, because real-time monitoring is not feasible.
Yeah.
Just too much data. They can't process it quickly enough.
But the Chinese have something new. They have the social credit system.
Yeah, and that's what they do it through that. But the point is it feeds the other way. That's because it feeds the other way. It's the only way to do it.
So you have so many Chinese.
I'm going to respond real quick to Toxic's question. Did the stream start late, or is America the only people that do daylight savings?
No, not
people, but every area has a different moment in time when they do daylight saving.
Yeah, ours is always at the end of March, so yours is really early. And I did wonder that America had already changed, but no, we won't change for 2 weeks yet.
I think the same is true for the Netherlands, actually.
Yeah, I'll say it's always at the end of March. It's always around the equinox. It's weird because the other one isn't symmetrical.
Well, the whole daylight saving time, I mean...
Because we change at the equinox in March, but we don't change at the equinox in September. We change at the equinox we change a month later in October.
That's possible. I don't keep track of that. In all fairness, the whole daylight saving time, it might have been a good idea a few hundred years ago, but...
Yeah. It's for farmers, apparently, and that doesn't make sense because cows don't wear watches.
I mean, the farmers didn't care either, to be honest. Whether it was 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, they would get up with the sun. They would get up with the rooster, or so they say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
King.
But well, it was a decent excuse or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's all odd. I never really understood. You know, they keep trotting out because they've had a debate every year as long as I can remember here, and none of the explanations given ever made any sense. I'm going, but that doesn't compute.
Yeah.
When I was still working, I would, especially in the spring, which this is, so it would eventually be getting light just as I was going to work, to the point of, oh, it's nice and light, hour change. Now I've got another hour to work my way through, 7 minutes at a time. Because It's really nice to have some daylight, because when you go to work in the dark and then you leave work in the dark, it's like, where did the day go?
Yeah. And I live in the dark anyway. Well, that's not true, but you know what I mean.
We all live in the dark, mate. We're all mushrooms. Fed shit. Kept in the dark.
Hell, I wish I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I love my job. I wish I didn't have to worry about my job so I can do what the hell I wanted to do. Then I wouldn't be living here.
Yeah, well, it's
somewhere nice, green.
It's an integral part of modern society that they want as many people afraid for their jobs as possible.
Well, I love my job, but it's my only form of income. But if I had enough money, I would buy a house in the middle of... even in the Netherlands, there are places where there are very few people. Even though this is one of the most crowded places of the world. But yeah, that's at least a 2-hour drive away from here.
Yeah.
Funny enough,
I live in the southeast, so we are mega crowded. But if you go to Scotland, I drove up to Scotland a year ago, and it's like you leave England and you just enter the border country, and it's just nothing, just fields and hills. And then you go through the central belt of Scotland, Glasgow and all that, and you emerge the other side, and it's even more hills and fields. It's beautiful, really beautiful.
Yeah, it's close to for example, between close to the German border in the Netherlands. There's lots of green, grass, maybe a little bit of forest.
Tulips.
Oh well, no, well yeah, but
sorry,
no,
it's bad joke.
Tulips take a lot of work.
I know, bad joke. They're probably all under. I'd say glass, but it's not glass these days, is it?
Oh no, we do have outside tulip plantations as well. Care for them though. But yeah, no, I mean, I live in a nice house, nice-ish, fair enough. But for this money, I can buy huge pieces of lands with a decent big house, which is bigger than what I have now. But then I would be 2 hours drive away from here.
Mm-hmm.
And a 2-hour drive one way and a 2-hour drive the other way is going to be a problem for me to go to my job.
Yeah. Oh, God, it'd be unbearable.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, in Britain, the southeast is so expensive compared to the rest of the country. So, like, I could sell my house, and then with that, I could probably buy a much bigger house and still have like lots of money left over to live off elsewhere in the country.
Yeah.
But it's just meh. Sounds like hard work.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, I would love to. I really would love to. Oh, so, but yeah, but my YouTube presence isn't big enough, so I can't make my money like that.
Well, you know, it's a poison chalice, even if you did, because they can remove it at any point.
But I wouldn't mind living a little more green.
Yeah, but you would have a big castle, some chickens, and whatever, some animals.
I mean, if you look at provinces like Gelderland, Groningen, Friesland, I mean, it's a lot cheaper than South Holland.
The rent is really cheap because they're emptying out. People are going. And they even already demolished some villages, so there you can get really big houses for cheap, and they're not total wrecks or something. They're pretty good.
No, they're pretty good, but there's nothing around you. I mean, yeah, well,
you have to work. Yeah, you have to do something for yourself then. Something.
So yeah, there is that. Hey, but we have a problem keeping this going at the moment, I think. So I think it
Do
might
we?
be, considering well, yeah, we started on a topic, and we haven't been on that topic for almost an hour now.
Yeah, and
Yeah, nothing really. Just saying. And considering it is almost 1:30,
well, yeah, we have nearly done 2 hours.
so I think I'm going to call it.
$14.88. Real Raven, really. Shame on you. So bloody Germans again. Oh, yes.
Send me a link for the.
I'll do it. Don't worry.
Okay, yeah, okay. It's on its way. Well, I can do it too, by the way.
Can you?
Yeah.
But I want to.
Oh, okay. Now let's see who's faster, you or me.
Well, I'm not fast. I'm old, and I've had a few beers.
It's going to be you because I had that Cocoscope thing linked, the 1488 one.
Well, I've sent it, so.
Yeah, no, then yours is going to be because I sent the Cocoscope link. Oh, for just in case for what people are talking about, this is the Cocoscope link. It links to
lighten up, bloody Nazis.
Modwain you can always rename the stream after the. Nah, I'm not going to bother because we did talk about it.
We just blather on about all kinds of crap. Would be the same every week.
No. Sometimes we stay on topic.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Very sometimes. So yeah, okay. I had to link my 1488 thingy again so that people know what I'm talking about. Go watch it. It's very good. It has nothing to do with 1488.
It does. It's the 1488th video on Cocoscope.
It is not.
Everything to do with 1488.
There you go. Lighten up, John, or go to the showers. Hoppa. A German saying you should go to the showers. That is...
Yeah, bloody Nazi telling me to go to the showers. Zyklon B and all that.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's.
He's been in Ireland too long. They hate the English.
Well, that's not that difficult though. To get on this train.
Yes.
Oh, guys, you really want me to be abolished from YouTube, isn't it? Oh, I'll send it via copy. It's on Twitter. Hoppa. It's on Twitter, Alicia. Don't make me laugh, it hurts. Yes, indeed. Okay, people, thank you very much for watching. It was a good show, and I really enjoyed you guys being there. We really had a good laugh. The topic obviously wasn't as nice, but yeah, reality doesn't always like us. I hope to see you all next week.
Well, reality can go stick it where the sun don't shine.
Yes, postmodernist. Yes.
I hope to see you all next time. And this is when I click on the button, stop broadcasting.